Hi there, good morning. Welcome to Sounkyo. So I guess that you aren't really in the tourist zone when a big hotel doesn't have any English on the sign. Here in central Hokkaido Island, northern Japan. Today is November 12th. It is currently 46 degrees Fahrenheit, that is 8 degrees Celsius. I arrived here yesterday, coming from Furano, a much larger town on the island of Hokkaido. Both of these places, Furano and Sounkyo, I learned about from a comment from a viewer recommending some nice places to go in Hokkaido that weren't the main tourist areas. So you can see basically nobody around here. I guess this is another place where it is quiet now because it is the off season. I'm not sure if the high season would be in the summer or in the winter. Other places that I've been to were ski areas. I think there is also a ski resort here. We will be finding out soon. I'm going to go to a ropeway and see if it is open, a gondola. Amazing deal on a hotel room there in a big, very nice hotel with an onsen that I was lucky to be able to show you because nobody was in there. It is right there, and then there's an outdoor onsen. You can just see right there. I haven't been into that one yet, but it is a mixed onsen. So an onsen is a Japanese hot spring. There is a distinction between an onsen and a sento. An onsen means that it uses natural hot spring water, geothermal hot water coming out of the ground, whereas a sento is more like just a hot tub using regular water that is heated up. But this is an onsen. And so that outdoor onsen area, I know that you can't really see it very well, but it looks really cool. It's these rock pillars and then boulders and then various pools there. Maybe I will go into it later today. I went in the other one yesterday and this morning. But it is a mixed gender area, which is kind of rare. Almost all of the onsens in Japan are separated men and women, and you must go in nude. Like, it is really expected that you go in nude. But in that mixed area there, then swimsuits are required. So it will be men and women and kids. But then there is also the separated area that I showed, the men's onsen area there, which is only men, and you're expected to go in nude. So I'm going to walk around today. There are a few things to see. Like, there's a lot to see. It's a national park here. And then right here, I guess, is kind of the center of town, so to speak. There is a waterfall, there are hiking trails, and much more. But I'm just gonna see what I can see walking around. You know, there's no taxis, obviously. There are buses that go out here, but it stops right there. That is where I got dropped off by the bus yesterday. And last night, then I came out and tried to find dinner. It was kind of late, it was like 9:30, and I thought that there were restaurants up here showing up on Google Maps, and I could not find anything. The directions weren't working. I ended up going to 7-Eleven and buying some Asian ramen soup packet things, you know, in the little container you pour hot water into, and a spaghetti bolognese frozen. But there was in fact a microwave in the hotel there, so I heated up the spaghetti bolognese, and that was my dinner last night. Maybe tonight I will have better luck finding a restaurant. Here is a Seiko Mart. So there is a 7-Eleven, that is where I went yesterday, down the street from the hotel there. And then here you have another Mart here. And so I thought that I would make this video about traveling in Japan in general, how to do it, and in particular, how to travel in less touristy places, or just kind of talk about that a little bit as well, as opposed to just going to Tokyo and the main tourist sites. So I'm going to wander around here and then head that general direction, head for the hike and the ropeway and the waterfall. Hopefully the wind is not a big problem with this video since I'm going to be explaining a lot, but luckily I have my wind protective device that cuts out a lot of the wind noise, so hopefully you can hear me okay. So these all look like basically condos as opposed to apartment buildings, so this place must be busy at some point, but it is definitely a bit of a solitary experience now, which is fine. It is kind of perfect in a way in that the weather is chilly, 46 degrees, but not bitter cold. Sunshine shining down, not crowded, and a great deal on my hotel there. And so that is just a general tip for traveling if you want to avoid the crowds and the high prices, is go to places in low season, and it's a world of difference from the middle of the tourist mania. Okay, here's the cable car, and it does not look like it is going to be running. Mount Kurodake cable car. Yeah, I don't see any gondolas up there, but let's go investigate just to make sure. Yep, it is obviously very closed. There you go. Some English. Close. Oh, but then the door opens. Ooh, and it is so warm in here. So, one important thing to talk about in terms of how to travel Japan is the prevalence of English. So, the Japanese people in general very often do not speak English. It is very kind of hit or miss. You'll walk up to a reception desk at the hotel. Maybe they will speak quite good English, and maybe they will speak basically none. But the signs very often have English on them, which helps a lot, especially in the train stations and various places you go. Okay, little gift shop here. Service canceled. So obviously the bikes would be for the summer tourism season. Japan is very athletic, nature focused, lots of outdoor activities, lots of athletic type of things to do, bike paths, lots of walking trails and running trails and stuff like that. So this is an important one to mention, is the vending machines. So they're all over Japan, in the cities, just like all over the place, and it is a pretty similar setup in which you have the prices here. So that is one good thing, is that they use the Arabic numerals, the numbers that we use in the West, and so that helps you a lot all over the place as far as figuring things out. And so 110 Japanese yen. So currently there is 147 Japanese yen to $1 US. So if you see 150 yen, that means basically a buck. So 110 Japanese yen is like 70 cents, something like that. And then with the drinks, then the blue here will indicate a cold drink. If there is hot, then it will be a red sign like that with the price. This one doesn't have hot stuff, it looks like candy bars or something like that. And so the prevalence of English on the signs, and occasionally spoken by people, and then the same numbering system, all of that right there just makes traveling in Japan a lot easier than it otherwise would be. For example, go to China, and I have barely traveled China, but it is going to be a whole different situation in China in those regards, which will make it a whole lot more complicated. And in general, it is just quite well set up for tourism. It is really pretty amazing. For example, yesterday, then I went from Furano to Asahikawa to a change to a bus. So I took a train from Furano to Asahikawa and then a bus from Asahikawa to Sounkyo here. Okay, quick little distraction here, a little shrine. So the two main religions of Japan are Shintoism and Buddhism. Shintoism is like the native ancient religion, and then Buddhism is more recent as far as its presence in Japan. And they kind of intermix and cross. So this could be like a Shinto and Buddhist shrine. Apparently the archway like that signifies it as being a Shinto shrine. And then here you have some interesting symbols, and then a little shrine inside. So this is the way to get to a trailhead for a trail that I will check out. About a kilometer walk up here. So yesterday then, I got off the train in Asahikawa and then needed to figure out how to get out here to Sounkyo. Wasn't exactly sure. I assumed that a train didn't come here because it's more in the mountains, so was expecting a bus. And so I get off the train and I am still in the fee area. Right away then I see a little info desk with a lady there, and so I walk up there and she speaks great English. And so she explains to me that the bus station is right next to the train station. That seems to often be the case, as they are basically the same station, so that is really convenient. And so I go through the gates, exit, and then walk over to the bus station, and then I'm trying to figure out, do I need to buy a bus ticket beforehand, or do I just get it on the bus? So I find the bus ticket office and walk up there, and there are two different bus companies. I ask at the first one for Sounkyo, he points me over to the other one. I go over there. She speaks no English, but I basically managed to explain that I'm wondering about the ticket. Like oftentimes they will at least understand or speak a few words, basic words, you know, ticket, or you know, bathrooms, toilets, whatever. And so I explained that I want to buy a ticket, and then she grabs a piece of paper and it has Japanese and English written on it. So this is a piece of paper that they obviously have ready for foreigners. And so she points at one of the things and it says, "Pay on the bus." And so she was all prepared there with, you know, a piece of paper with translated phrases to point out to foreign people who don't speak Japanese. So that's just one little indication of how prepared they are to deal with foreign tourists. And so a couple more big resort hotels, and with just nobody around. So strange. So as for prices of traveling in Japan, then I think there's kind of a misconception that Japan is really expensive. So the last time that I was here was in 2018, and the exchange rate was quite different. It was basically like 100 to 1. So 1 US dollar would be 100 Japanese yen, thereabouts. And so you see the prices and then just convert it into like putting a decimal point. So if it says 150 yen, then call that $1.50, instead of now, in which 150 yen is $1. So that's a big difference. You're talking like half again as much or so. And so because of the strengthening dollar and or weakening yen over the past few years, and that alone has made it a lot more affordable to travel in Japan. But even going back to the exchange rate in 2018 when I was here before, then it's not cheap, especially for Asia. No comparison, of course, to India, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, but it isn't crazy expensive. Even if that exchange rate goes back to where it was before, then you can still find reasonable prices, especially like hostels are amazing. I stayed in a lot of hostels the last time I was on, less of a budget then, but the hostels in Japan are really amazing. Whether they're capsule hotels or not, then they were all just really nice with more privacy than typical hostels, either with curtains or the capsule pods or whatever. And then great facilities, very clean. And so that is one way that you can travel more on a budget in Japan, is make use of hostels. But then you can also find reasonably priced hotels, especially out of the main tourist zone. $50 or whatever, or less, especially now. So Momijidani is the hike that I'm doing. And I'm actually heating up now. I have on 2 layers and was getting too hot with the warm jacket and everything. So that's good, at least I'm not too cold. Momijidani, up this way. And something I'm gonna do for protection, because there could be bears around. I went to a bear park elsewhere on Hokkaido, and apparently there are also wild bears on the island. So I'm going to grab several of these rocks and put them in my pockets as just a last resort. Obviously, rocks against a bear is far from a sure thing, but I would rather have rocks than not have rocks. Very interesting rock formations up there. Boulders stacked on top of each other. So I have no idea how long this hike is, or if I will complete it wherever it goes to. Momijidani path entrance, 700 meters. So does that mean 700 meters to the path entrance, or this is the path entrance to the thing after 700 meters? Well, let's find out. And I have more than several rocks, like 10 in each pocket. And here is a great Japanese birch tree. Amazing scenery here in the mountains of Hokkaido. All right, this is looking like an amazing hike. Absolutely gorgeous. So maybe this will also go to the waterfall eventually, because I think that the waterfall is more down in the river canyon, other side of that hill. But I didn't do a lot of research. I just found this as one of the things to do and went for it. So it would be kind of cool if it wraps around and somehow gets back over to the other things that I want to see. Otherwise, I'll just be turning around and going back. Hey, bear. Hello. Go on. Hey, there. That is really your best defense against bears, at least initially, is just try to scare them away. It would be amazing to see one, but not amazing enough to actually want that to happen. They are so cute. As I showed in that other video, But don't be fooled. Cute can turn deadly very quickly. Katsura tree. Hey bear! Hey! Go on! Hey bear! Woodpecker feeding tree. I guess it means this one right here. You can see all the holes. So another thing that I thought that I would talk about is etiquette in Japan, which is something that I'm definitely not an expert on at all. But just keep in mind that there is different etiquette here, and there's kind of a lot of it as far as things that you aren't supposed to do, or at least that you know, Japanese people generally won't do, but you can maybe get away with as a foreigner, because chances are people aren't going to say anything to you if you're doing the wrong thing. But I've been learning more about what to do and what not to do from the comments being posted by locals and foreign people who live in Japan, talking about the Japanese etiquette. So, for example, I learned from one of my recent videos that sitting on the ground is really a big no-no. So I was sitting on the concrete at a train station showing my food that I'd bought, and there were several comments saying like, that is like really bad. You don't sit on the ground or on the floor or whatever. And then walking down the street eating is apparently a big no-no, or smoking while walking. And then of course with the onsens, then there are a whole bunch of rules which I showed in a previous video. So you just want to read up on those, because there's often a sign in English at the entryway into the onsen telling you the rules. So I won't go through all those again here, but basically they are, for the most part, rules about being more considerate of other people, being quiet, not talking on your cell phone or having loud conversations on the bus or the train. I'm not exactly sure about eating on trains and buses, because yesterday I bought some food before getting on the bus and I was really hungry, and so I was planning to eat it on the bus. I've done it before, nobody seems to mind. And then I actually noticed that a local woman was also eating a sandwich on the bus. So it's probably not a big deal, but maybe it is kind of, you know, a little bit of breaking the rules, but it's not really a huge deal. So if you're just basically considerate, then that is your best guidance in that regard. And for one thing, then the Japanese people are going to give you a break for being a foreigner and not knowing the rules. And as long as your intentions are for the best, then that counts for a lot. But still, try to learn the rules, the customs and norms, and just be a little hyper aware about it, and try to be more conscious and considerate than you otherwise might be back home. This hike is getting steeper and steeper. I'm wondering if we're going to get a nice view, because there seems to be a saddle up there. I'll give my best shot to get to something interesting other than just these beautiful views of the forest. Really cool hike. But it looks like it isn't going to get to the top of anything for a while. But wow, look at that waterfall. Awesomeness. All right, all right, all right. Maybe this is the end of the trail. Because I don't see any way out of this cul-de-sac here. Okay, maybe this is it. Very nice. So we got to something. Incredible. Momi Jidaki. So I guess that's the name of a waterfall. Wow. Man, look at those cliffs. Looks like a rock climber's dream. Definitely the end of the trail. It might continue up and around that way because one of the signs was pointing this way and then pointing that way as well, but there didn't seem to be much of a trail there, so I'm not going to bother with that. I'll head back down and then go find what might be another waterfall, assuming that that was a separate one from this one. Just gorgeous. So it's just about lunchtime. I have some food in my backpack here that I'm going to munch on in just a couple of minutes, so this is a good opportunity to talk about the food of Japan. Now, what is in my backpack for lunch is the usual stuff from 7-Eleven. Nothing too exciting. And I understand that people want to see more sushi, so it is almost a crime that in my 2 weeks of traveling in Japan this trip, I have not eaten sushi once, which is not on purpose by any means. It's just kind of worked out that way for various reasons. So one reason is that basically when I have breakfast, I don't want to have sushi. So my breakfasts have been stuff from 7-Eleven. But I have tried to find sushi restaurants a few times and been unable to find them just because I was in small towns and ended up eating like ramen or whatever. Sushi is absolutely one of my favorite foods. But in general, I would say that Japanese food is not my, top 5 or whatever favorite foods around the world. It is more variable. Sushi is pretty much, guaranteed to be really good, especially if you have it in Japan. But instead of sushi, then I've been trying a lot of other Japanese foods, because there's a lot of them that you don't see in Japanese restaurants back in the United States or Europe or wherever. And with those, it has been very hit or miss. Some of them have been just like really unpleasant to my tongue. And then some have been really good. I've had some great meals like the Japanese curry. Now there was the Nepali food that I had a few days ago, but there is also a Japanese style curry that I had. It is like a brown sauce that is quite different from Indian curries. And that was really good, really like satisfying meal. I think one of the other things is that because it's colder, then I've kind of been looking for more hot meals instead of sushi. Hopefully I can find some sushi in this town here tonight, but I am definitely not counting on it. I might end up eating packaged stuff from 7-Eleven again. But Japanese food is definitely an experience. There are so many different kinds. Also, as people pointed out, then some of my meals have not been Japanese food. They've been like Chinese and Korean, and I'm not well enough acquainted with Asian food to necessarily distinguish between all of them. But I've had some really good meals, and it has been a fun experience trying these different foods. Basically, my strategy has been go somewhere with pictures on the menu, and then whatever looks interesting, then order it. And sometimes it's good, sometimes not so good, but at least I'm getting to experience some of the many, many different cuisines of Japan. So it is most certainly an important and really fun part of the Japanese experience is the food, as is the case everywhere you travel. But certainly some places more so than others. Japanese food I would put, up there in the good stuff, but comparing like Indian food, Mexican food, Greek food, Italian, Thai food, I would put above Japanese food myself. Okay, back at the bottom. Time to find somewhere out of this wind to eat lunch. Maybe I'll try that little covered area. And I guess this is a good spot to talk about Wi-Fi in Japan. I wonder if it actually works here. So, the Wi-Fi in Japan is amazing. It is the fastest of anywhere that I've been in the world as far as being consistently fast, and actually the fastest that I've come across was here in Japan. As I showed at the beginning, the Wi-Fi in my hotel there is super fast, which is amazing for being this barely a town in the mountains. Everywhere I've been, other than on a bus once, then the Wi-Fi has been very fast. Even on the trains, then they have good, fast, free Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is no problem in Japan. Well, I'm definitely not out of the wind, so it's going to be a quick lunch here. So, this is what I got. Another 7-Eleven sandwich, pork ham, cheese, black pepper, and mayonnaise. Milk pudding, strawberry yogurt, mango smoothie. Not sure how much all that was, but probably around like $5, $6, $7. So back in town, to whatever extent you can actually call it a town, there's the cable car. And so you can see all of these hotels. Hotel Taisetsu, Youth Hostel, Hotel Choyote. So it is basically all hotels and no local neighborhoods, it looks like. So that's why it's so empty now. Present location at the confluence of these rivers here. So the other waterfall seems to be a different waterfall. It's called Ginga Waterfall, and it is 3 kilometers or 2 miles up this way. Here you can see the bus where I got dropped off yesterday, and will catch another bus tomorrow. I will just mention here on the subject that the transportation situation in Japan in general is absolutely amazing. There are regular trains going to most places. This is, of course, a remote location, but there are still buses coming here like every 2 hours or so. But most places in Japan, especially going between the major cities or even, small cities or whatever, then there's lots of trains. The bullet trains, as I've shown in previous videos, are not cheap. They're probably going to run you $100 to $200 or so, but they're an amazing experience, and they get you there so fast. Especially the fastest ones are just like mind-bogglingly quick and smooth, and a very pleasant experience. Very quiet, very clean on the trains, really enjoyable way to travel around. Now, people have recommended getting the JR Rail Pass, Japan Rail Pass, which I guess you can get for like 1 week or 2 weeks, and probably other options. From what I understand, you might have to get that before you come to Japan. I didn't realize that. I wasn't sure if getting some sort of a pass was going to end up being worth it. As it turns out, it definitely would have been, especially if I'd gotten that one in advance, which is very reasonably priced. Then I think that I would have definitely saved money. So that is something to look into, is getting that weekly or 2 week or whatever pass in advance if you will be traveling around by train quite a bit. Especially with those bullet train trips, 1 or 2 of those trips could be more than what you pay for a week's pass. So another trail, I guess maybe going up there, it said viewpoint, but let's keep going this way. And then there are also buses. There is English signage most of the places. And you use cash a lot, which is great on the buses, instead of having to have, you know, a tap credit card or some sort of a bus pass or whatever. Then cash is accepted on a lot of the like local buses or the long distance ones as well. Or maybe you buy the ticket in advance at the bus office and you can pay with a credit card. And on that issue, then credit cards are accepted pretty much everywhere. Getting closer, the waterfall is now 900 meters or an 11-minute walk away. I think I'm going to go right up here and not go through that tunnel. But it has been a kind of boring, but at least nice and easy walk along the highway here. So a fake waterfall there, but that is not the real waterfall. And the tunnel. So I've arrived at a parking lot, and it looks like that is the waterfall. And it's spectacular. Although this sign says Ryusei Falls instead of Ginga. Wow. That is a nice one there. Maybe the Ginga Falls is another one, or it has two names. Anyway, I think there must be a bridge over the river to get closer. And then there's a different one right there, so maybe that is the Ginga. Smaller. But so far, I'm not seeing a bridge. Okay, there you go. Ginga and Ryusei Falls. A variety of almost vertical waterfalls, both large and small, extend about 15 kilometers down the columnar joints that form when lava cools and hardens. So I guess by 15 kilometers it means all down this canyon. And make up the cliffs in the valley of Sounkyo, extending from the foot of the Daisetsuan mountain range. Of these, Ginga Falls and Ryusei are the two most well known, referred to as the Wetted Falls because they cascade down the cliff side by side. So I guess this is as close as you get. But that is also a pretty one. And I'm sure that it's stronger at other times of the year in the spring. Definitely worth the walk. And I can see another one in the distance there. So I think that is going to do it for this video. I hope that you got a lot of good information about traveling in Japan. I'm just going to walk back to my room there, hang out inside, stay warm, get this video here edited. And then as for dinner tonight, then if you don't see any dinner shown at the end of the video right after this, then I couldn't find a restaurant and had to resort to going to 7-Eleven and heating something up in the microwave again. But hopefully I can find something. It is definitely time to find sushi, if not here, definitely in the coming few days. I will be heading back to Sapporo next. I'll catch a bus back to Asahikawa and then catch a train to Sapporo and plan to stay there for a day or two and show the city. It is the largest city on Hokkaido Island, and from there I will catch a train or maybe a plane probably back south in Japan. All right, thanks for watching. More coming from Japan.